Hello and welcome to News Now. I'm Darshan Usman. We begin with updated news on elections in Edo State, where security personnel were seen mounting roadblocks on roads in Benin as early as 6 a.m. ahead of the Edo governorship election, which is set to begin at 8 a.m. Saturday today. Security personnel in the wee hours of the day began stopping and searching vehicles at the roadblocks, as well as asking the occupants questions in order to ensure security, law and order during the election. Some commercial bus drivers who wanted to make quick business, however, managed to avoid the roadblocks to evade questioning by security officials. The popular Ring Road had a notable presence of military personnel, particularly at the Sapele Road, Forestry Junction and Sapele Road axis, with an armoured tank stationed at the city centre. There was also a heavy presence of security personnel at Okida Road, Ekwan Road, and also at the INEC office in Ikpoba Hill. As the elections in Edo State approach, people with disabilities are determined to exercise their civic duties despite facing significant barriers. Many are speaking out about the lack of accessibility at polling stations, making it difficult for them to cast their votes.
It's a civic right and responsibility to everyone, every person living with disability or who is handicapped should come out and exercise his or her voting right. So that's why I came out.
Alright, so as you don't come out now, what do you expect in terms of security, your mind rest?
By the special grace of God, the security that they are put in place. So I'm sure all unnecessary action will be caught.
Olumide Akpata, candidate of the Labour Party, also spoke on the election process.
I went to the booth, I thumbprinted where you would imagine I would thumbprint, and then I stuck it in the ballot box. Everything went well. I want to hope that this is the experience of every Edo voter, but I'm not going to make it here. I'm going to wait for feedback from around the state. It's 192 wards, 4,500 polling units. We are hopeful that this will be the experience of every Edo voter, and that I am calling on INEC that the playing field should remain level, given any undue advantage. All of our agents should be allowed into the collation center. The agents should be allowed into the collation centers. Nobody should be hindered or prevented from going into the collation center, so that we can all witness the process and be able to confirm that it was carried out in the manner as prescribed by law, the Electoral Act and the Constitution. So I am calling on INEC. This is an off-cycle election. The only gubernatorial election taking place in the entire country. So they have no excuse. They have the luxury of being able to deploy their resources to this state, all of their resources. They have the latitude of being able to ask the security forces to focus on Edo State. So I would imagine that anyone given all of those tools and resources should be able to do a good job. So I'm hopeful, all eyes are on them. The entire country is on INEC, and we're hoping that they will do a good job.
Alright, before you go, in terms of security, what would you say? How tight has security been in Edo? We heard there was a shootout at Oredo yesterday night, and some political talks were apprehended. How would you respond to that?
That they were apprehended is a good thing, right? So I'm thinking that with the massive deployment into the state for this process, first and foremost, that's a good sign for me. Now it is left to be seen whether or not that deployment is for the people or the deployment is to benefit certain individuals. I mentioned yesterday that I noticed that 2 APC trucks were parked outside the home of Senator Shomole. That does not give me confidence. 2 APC trucks, these are major equipment meant for the people. What are they doing outside the home of Senator Shomole on Okoroton Avenue in Jari? So that gives me cause for concern. But we are watching, and we are not without remedies.
All right, sir. There seems to be logistic problem with INEC because sending materials to polling units. All right, please.
Allow me get feedback from the field. I cannot comment on that now. It is only what time is it? I need feedback from the field before I can tell you about my own perspectives on the issue of logistic challenges. But anyone who is operating in Edo State and who needs to go by road around Edo State will have challenges. anyone who needs to travel from point A to B in Edo State will have challenges. So I'm not surprised to hear that. At least if we're talking about road transport.
Sorry, lastly, sir, do you think whether we have affected voter turnout?
Rain affects a lot of things. People stay home when it's raining, but they will come out because the people want to vote, and we have time. So I'm sure that once the rain subsides, the crowd was huge here before now, and they're not going to go home. So let's do it that way. All right, thank you.
To bring us more updates, we now cross over to our correspondent, Bettina Nwelih. Hello, Bettina. How are you doing? If you can hear me, please go ahead and give us an update of the voting process where you are at the moment, Bettina.
All right, we're still at Oredo local government area, Ward 4, that has about 5 polling units in this particular location. And we are awaiting the Governor Godwin Obaseki, to come and cast his vote as is expected to cast his vote here. But we've also seen that the rain has disrupted the voting process. As you can see, people hiding under shelters and shades because of the rain. But nonetheless, they are unrelentless about casting their votes. Instead of going home, we still have some enthusiasm because voters are waiting to make sure that the rain subsides and they can go on and continue with the voting process in this particular location. Earlier on, we crossed over to another polling unit at Mission Road, where we saw the Labour Party candidate Olumide Akpata cast his vote and also address the press on his hopes about this election.
All right, Bettina, you talked about enthusiasm, with the voters in your polling unit. Can you tell us if voting materials are enough in that particular polling unit?
Well, instead of telling you, I would allow an observer to speak in that regard. Good afternoon, Ma. Please tell us your name and what you are here for.
Am I supposed to speak as an observer?
You're looking into the camera, you're live.
Okay. My name is Ambassador Queen Obaseki.
All right, Ma. Can you tell us what you have observed from this polling unit, and especially now that the rains are falling, what do you think is going to happen with the election?
It will still go well. They don't normally have issues in this center. I see it like a family ward. It will still go well.
And this is the center where the governor is expected to come and cast his vote?
Unit 19, yes.
All right, ma'am. Thank you very much.
God bless you.
All right, so regardless of the rain, we've heard it from an election observer herself that the election will still go on, and this center has been known to be peaceful, so they are not expecting any form of insecurity or chaos to happen right here.
All right, Bettina, but can you tell us how efficient is the voting process in Oredo Ward where you are at the moment?
Can you come again with the question?
How efficient is the voting process where you are at the moment? You said that the rain is actually falling, and it doesn't deter anyone from coming out and casting their ballots. So how efficient is it, despite the rain?
Well, I would say that on INEC's side, he's saying that they were going to use an open space, and saying that we are in the rainy season. One would expect, like some of the indigents had been complaining, that canopies should have been provided because they know that this is a whole day affair. And even if the rains didn't fall, there will be suns, and we have the elderly, we have people living with disability, coming to cast their votes. So such people should have been considered, and preparations also made for them so that they can make the process much easier. However, I must commend the fact that for every elderly person who came to cast their votes, they were given allowance to go to the front instead of having to queue. Same goes for people living with disabilities.
Okay, so what about the voting devices? I'm talking about the beavers and the rest. How efficient, have they been so far? Not just, in Oredo Ward, but other wards that you've actually had the opportunity to be in contact with, other polling units.
All right. On On our way back to this polling unit after taking the vote of Olumide Akpata, we did notice some empty polling units, and I would attribute that to the rains. In fact, there was even a policeman sleeping on duty because there was nobody at the polling unit. So I think that the rain has affected some areas, but in some other areas, people appear relentless and they are determined to cast their votes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Bettina. I think we'll move on to our other correspondent, Austin Azu, who joins us at the moment. Austin, if you can hear me, thank you for joining us. Hello, Austin, can you hear me?
Good morning, good morning.
All right.
Currently, we are at Ward 1, Unit 3 at Asians. Ewohimi, precisely. This is the polling unit where the governorship candidate of the PDP will be voting. Behind me, you can see everyone is trying to make his way to where they might be casting their votes. We have the elderly, we have the aged, we have the young ones here as well. In this particular polling unit, we have Unit 1 and Unit 2. And earlier on, the governorship candidate of the PDP addressed media regarding to the late arrival of material, and we have been at the rack center since morning monitoring the process, and we discovered that a lot of materials that ought to have been moved down to the ward and down to the unit level we are still very much intact over there, and some of them attributed it to the issue of logistics and sorting of other issues that regard the movement of the materials. But meanwhile, we have some of them who will talk to us here. Okay, we have one of the observers who will give us an update. Okay, please tell us your name and tell us what you have observed so far.
Yeah, my name is Comrade Sonny Elekwa. I'm the Executive Director of Citizens' Right for Peace and Good Leadership Initiative from Abuja. We have gone through coming from Benin to, we are now in east and southeast in Uwehami, Ward 1, Unit 3. At some places we've gone, material came late, like this place. Material came like from 10 o'clock. But people are also trooping out to cast their votes. But it was it showered in the morning, briefly, before it stopped. And now people are coming out to do the voting. Everywhere is still peaceful. And people are very desperate to cast their votes. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. We have one of the voters who will tell us, one of the voters. Please tell us your name and tell us the election process so far you have observed.
Okay, they call me MC Abino. I'm a comedian. The election process has been going very smoothly and it has been peaceful anyway. Like what we observed, though the rain wanted to disrupt a little bit, but God made the weather to be fair, and the election is going smoothly now, and I believe those people that are here and those that will still come, it has been free and fair. They have been allowed to exercise their franchise, and it's going smoothly.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's meet another voter to tell us another angle to this. Please tell us your name and what you observed about the voting process so far.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Osaro. As you can see, the election is going on through. People are conducting themselves in an orderly manner. And we are here to elect the governor for the next 4 years. Even with the rain this morning, you could still see the turnout is impressive. The weather is becoming friendlier and the voting has just commenced. And we hope to finish strong and elect the new leader for the state. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We have some of the elderly who are still sitting, waiting for their turn for them to go and cast their vote. All right, sir. So let's meet to your name and tell us the voting process. You can sit down.
My name is Chief Jonathan Oso, and I'm the #1 citizen of this community. I'm Chief Oso, controlling the whole community here.
Okay, tell us the voting process so far.
It's very cordial, and I'm happy that the process is very cordial. It's free and fair. And with the cooperation of what all the officials are doing, we can see that it's going to be free and fair, and it's going to give good results at the end of the day. Thank you for your cooperation. The newsmen, I thank you all.
Okay, Thank you very much. We have heard it from most of the voters here and some of the observers, what they have observed so far. So that's to collaborate with what we have observed so far about late arrival of materials that were delivered to the various polling units, and we'll hope that this late arrival of materials will not stop the process. Rather, it will make since the rain has subsided and we have the sun already, so everyone will be coming out en masse to cast their vote, and the election will be peaceful, according to the perception so far.
Well, thank God it's been peaceful where you are, Austin. But we still want to talk on security, because Asian East was actually listed as one of the black spots, for violence in the election. So have you heard of any form of intimidation or violence within Asian or even Asian East and within the state in general?
Obviously, on our way from the RAC Center this morning, we saw the presence of heavily armed security personnel on the ground. So between Obiaja to Uwehimi at this particular spot, the presence of security personnel will definitely make a strong signal that this election will not entertain any violence. And not only that, on our way coming down to this particular place, we saw some commuters that were stopped on the road. So obviously this commuter might be they may be moving from one state to another, so they were prevented not to pass through those areas. So but I don't know if they will allow them to move further than that. But back to the question, we have heavily armed security personnel on the ground. We have the police who are still patrolling. We have sister security agencies, and not only that too, we have over 35,000 deployed this election. So it means that each of the local government will be having nothing less than more than 2,000 per local government. And most of the areas that you just mentioned as one of the black spots and as area noted for the black spot, they will not in any way allow anyone to cause any violence or whatsoever to destabilize the peace of the election. Okay, my cameraman, if you can allow me to pan, please pan and see the queue building up already. You can see that these are people who are going to cast their votes, and one after the other, especially they are giving preference to the elderly. The elderly, you can see them, they are giving preference to the elderly. They are sitting down one after the other so that they can go and cast their vote without glitches.
Elderly, please sit down. Youths, first 20.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Austin Azu, for that update. And we also apologize for the poor visuals. Now, with that, we will go on a break, and we're done for the news for now. And Edo Decides continues after the break. Do stay with us.
We are currently at the local government RAC Center here in Obiaja in East and Southeast local government area of Edo State. Behind me you can see the INEC ad hoc staff and the security personnel on the ground. But it seems that they are yet to move away from this RAC Center, because they said that they will not move until their logistics are provided. And not only that, they are equally looking forward to get more manpower for them to move away from this RAC Center down to the wards and down to the polling units. However, we have this PO to share more light why they have not moved away from this RAC Center. And it's 8 o'clock already when the election ought to have started.
Good morning. My name is Prince Lucky. So the reason why we are still in RAC Center is that, number one, like me now, I'm the presiding officer in my unit, and I'm the only one person. How only me will handle the BVACs, the accreditation, and the other things? So that is the problem we are having. But before, there is no life jacket, and this place that we are going is across River Niger, and you know now River Niger has rise up. So how can we go? Can we go without no life jacket? Although they have settled that one, but the other one now is that they should provide more staff for us, which is we have talked to EU yesterday. EU said they are going to provide the staff. Up till now, we have not seen EU and we have not seen the staff. So that is why we are not agreed to go. We're supposed to go to Ilushi. From Ilushi now we'll cross to Ifiku Island. will cross the River Niger, we will not go. Because only me will not do the work of APO 1, APO 2, and APO 3. Still do the work of a presiding officer.
Thank you for joining us as we continue with the live feed and coverage from Edo State, where Edo decides. And of course, you know, the elections are on the way. They started off a couple of hours ago in Edo State as they all troop out to decide who becomes the governor of the state for the next 4 years. I am Osaogi Ogbawan.
And I'm Darshan Usman. Thank you so much for staying with us. When Osaogi, you said 4 years, do you mean 8?
4, 8, it depends. You know, I mean, it is expected, you know, from, you know, Nigeria's electoral history most times that once you successfully complete 4, you know, you very likely would, you know, do another 4 years. But of course, once in a while, we see that changes.
Exactly.
So we'll see. But of course, it's very interesting. You know, we've had a very, very long drama-filled last 1 year at least. And build up to the elections, you know, from, of course, the issues between the deputy governor and the governor of the state, Governor obaseki, Philip Shaibu. We eventually saw the deputy governor leave the party, eventually saw that he was even impeached at some point. There's so much that's happened in the last 1 year, you know, on the average, probably even more than 1 year in the build up to the elections. There's also, of course, the PDP refusing to sign the peace accord, arguments between Adams Oshomole and Governor Obaseki's wife. It's just been totally chaotic.
Yeah, but those are some of the factors that would actually determine, you know, if who would actually win this particular election. A lot of people have actually said that, you know, it is a tightly contested election between 3 people, but some have actually said that it is between 2 gladiators who are not even on the ballot, and I'm talking about Obaseki and Oshomole. So, you know, all I can actually say is, may the best man win.
Absolutely, and of course, the people of Edo State will decide. You know, in the last, 2-3 hours, we've also seen the election details here and there, where we've seen some people arrested by the EFCC for attempting vote buying. We've also seen some thugs. The police, of course, put out a statement saying some people were arrested, you know, with weapons, you know, or supposedly or allegedly thugs that were meant to disrupt the electoral process in Edo State. So it's not very different from the regular electoral process across Nigeria.
I actually saw a story of a local government chairman who was almost assassinated, but, you know, they were apprehended. That's the driver, and it was like, I think 3 people. 2 of them were actually apprehended. But, you know, I'm talking about one of the Mercy Johnson, I think, her husband. He's a local government chairman.
Okay, yes, I saw that.
Yeah, they came to his house and almost assassinated him. I've also seen that, you know, the rains has actually hampered, you know, a lot of people from going to polling units to cast their ballot, but they are determined, and they have said that, you know, it will not stop them. Hopefully the rains subside in some parts of Edo State very, very soon, and these people can actually have the opportunity to go and cast their ballots.
Yeah, very true. One of the things, you know, that I've always been concerned about, you know, is really, like you mentioned earlier, you know, the people of Edo State have a decision to make today.
Exactly.
But what are the deciding factors, you know, when elections are happening in Edo State and across Nigeria, really? Is it because people are aware of where they want healthcare to be, where they want security to be, infrastructure, you know, the ease of doing business, and some of all these little details here and there? Unfortunately, I don't think that we're there yet. You know, what we have, the general statement across the people is, this person has failed, you know, we want to, you know, to try somebody else, or this person has done very well, want him to continue. It's not because they've been able to really, you know, in-depthly x-ray the details of what they want from these candidates, or what these candidates are promising. And, you know, it's one of the challenges that I have with the electoral conversations, you know, in Nigeria. But we have, I think we're going to try and bring some feed now. The PDP candidate, Asuego Dalo, is about to cast his vote in Edo State. So we'll continue the conversations all through, you know, for the next 2 hours. Let's quickly share with you live feed. It's not the very, you know, clearest pictures, unfortunately, but this is, you know, from Edo State this morning in Isan South, and in Edo State rather this morning. Isan Southeast, I beg your pardon, in Edo State. And this, are some of the people who have trooped out to vote, even with the very disturbing weather earlier, it's, of course, rained very heavily across the state. So we would share with you details and feed from the elections all across the state this morning. I also have some of our correspondents join us to, of course, also share with us what has happened over there. We have the PDP candidates currently voting in this particular location as we speak. And, of course, a lot of other people right there behind him. These are some of the things that we're going to be talking about today. Remember also that we have our correspondents in Edo State this morning, all across the state, ready to give us live feed. There you can see him, Aswe Godalo, standing in line and waiting to vote. The humility that politicians always have. The humility that they always have, during electoral period.
But it actually shows good leadership, if you ask me. The fact that, he stood in line, he's standing in line and he's waiting to cast his vote. You see a lot of people, a lot of other, candidates, shunt the line and go ahead to cast their ballots. So it actually shows, yes, like you've said, humility, but also good leadership.
I agree. I mean, it's a good thing. It's good body language, basically, But we've also seen that right after today, whoever gets to win the election, all that humility seems to just disappear. And of course, the connection, that they have with the people completely is eroded. The governor of Edo State is also, of course, up and about this morning, approaching his own polling unit in Edo State. So, it's looking like a very busy day. Yes, there you can see the governor of Edo State, Governor Godwin Obaseki, also moving to his own polling unit to cast his ballot in Oredo local government area this morning in Edo State. It's a very, very interesting election. I was a little worried, with the build-up to the election, the threats of violence, the statements of it being a do-or-die affair today.
Exactly.
Some of all those things.
And I wonder how, it actually resonated with the voters in particular when you say it's a do-or-die affair. But it's a good thing that IPAC actually came out to, debunk the fact that, elections are not a do-or-die affair. It is not a war. So you go in, cast your ballot, and whoever wins, wins. So, I don't think leaders or politicians should be making such statements, especially in a place like Edo State, where we know that, during elections it's usually tensed and, there's usually so much violence that, happens during the elections.
It could be seen as do or die because, or when you hear statements like that, I think it also just shows you that the motivating factor for these persons who are running for election isn't necessarily service. It is power and access to resources. And that's why after investing so long, so after investing so much in the electoral process, we also have elections that are so expensive, right from the nomination forms to, of course, the campaigns, the amount of money, billions of naira that has to be spent, by each candidate in order to get that far. That's why it is do or die, because they need to get, that money back. They need to justify the billions that have been spent on elections. And these are some of the things that I believe that if we are serious as a people, we're going to have our guests join us in a bit so we can also x-ray these parts of the conversation. If we have been serious over time in refining and developing our electoral process, these are some of the things that we should have tried to fix. Why is it so expensive? And it's not peculiar to Nigeria, so let's not make it similar. It's not peculiar even in the United States, the current U.S. Presidential elections. They're very expensive. But that is why, they would do all possible, including vote buying, hiring thugs, bribing INEC officials, here and there, all that is necessary to ensure that they win. And when you see that level of dedication and passion for just that ballot, it should almost tell you immediately that this is not about service. It is power and access to resources. Those are the two main things.
When you talk about access to resources, a lot of, we all know that most times the amount of money that's spent during the elections, the idea of, putting in all that effort for campaigning and everything is so when they're in power, they're able to recoup whatever it is. So.
Absolutely. It's, again, so we're not painting just the Edo State elections or Nigerian elections.
No, it's general.
It's pretty much the same thing in almost everywhere in the world, But if we've continued, or if we've claimed to, we've continued to refine and modify our electoral process, these are some of the things that we should have tried to fix. Or generally, with governance, in Nigeria, we should have tried to reduce the relevance of the governorship seat, the relevance of the House of Assembly seat, the Senate, senator seat. So anybody who's going there knows that they're really going there to serve, not just for resources.
Yeah, this is the reason why we have so many people pushing for the reduction in the cost of governance, and also saying that most leaders should also earn minimum wage.
Yeah.
That way it deters greedy people from wanting leadership positions.
Yeah. But I mean, today is going to be a day that a clear result sheet will be put out for Governor Obaseki and what the people of Edo State feel about the last 8 years under his rule as governor. They, of course, will also be getting a clear result sheet for him as they decide whether to vote in the PDP to remain in power or, to move to a different party. The Labour Party, which has never, of course, held governorship, the governorship seat in Edo State, but has become popular in the last 2 years, on the average, would also have its own ability to see how much it has been able to convince the people of Edo State that they might be the party to move to next. We also, of course, have the APC, which many people are going to be relying mostly on the performance of the APC nationally to know whether they will give the APC power in Edo State. So these are some of the, unfortunately, these are some of the details. We've not had proper conversations, with the candidates, being able to properly detail what they have to offer the people of Edo State with regards road infrastructure, with regards to education and healthcare, and the generally building a human development index, increasing the state's IGR, agriculture, and all forms of development generally. We've not had them actually break down these things to the people and make those things the deciding factors as to whether they will get the vote. We don't have those type of conversations. Maternal and infant mortality rates and some of all of that.
Exactly. Very, very important conversations, I must say. But, for the PDP candidate, it's assumed that, he carries on from where Obaseki has left off or even, does more. And you talked about PDP and APC. But what about the Labour Party candidate? We saw him vote earlier. That's Olumide Akpata. So many questions are being asked on, we saw during the presidential election, how Peter Obi's influence actually affected, some of these candidates and made them win. Even candidates that, it was just their first time on the ballot, candidates that, have never been heard of before in political space. We saw that happen. So questions are being asked about, how Peter Obi's support will impact, Labour Party's performance and also the election as well.
Okay. I think we can quickly just, move over to Edo State now. We can see the governor of the state about to address pressmen. So let's quickly bring that feed in and see if we can get to hear what the governor is saying. Looks very, very rowdy.
See the turnout. People have come out. You can see the enthusiasm. It's not midday yet, and the ballot box in my polling unit is already full. So clearly, that tells you that people are very interested because they've been mobilized. They're very interested in this election because, like we've always said, it's a significant watershed for us in Edo State. That's why I'm not surprised. A lot of young people are here to come and express themselves and fulfill their civic obligations. For now, I'm glad with what I see. The process in my unit has been quite smooth and efficient. I just hope that the collation process will be the same, that it will be peaceful and that the results will be counted and there will be no disruptions.
As the chief security officer of the state, are you satisfied with the presence?
Yes, I'm glad that with the extent of the military presence in the states, as you know, right now I'm shut off. The federal security agencies have taken over the state, so I don't have any say. At this point in time, I'm not the chief security officer. I believe the IG is the chief security officer of Edo State.
understand that some political have been arrested around Oredo, and you raised some alarm over those incidents. What's your take on this?
This is by the military. Yes, I think they've done well. The Chief of Defense Staff came to see me and gave assurances that his men will be on ground and they will be fully deployed. And you are seeing that deployment, and I'm glad that the military is here as a backstop. But clearly, we're not too sure what the police is doing. Because as I speak, there are some people who claim that they are policemen at the Ogbe polling field today, trying to arrest people on election day in their polling units.
So, are you getting feelers from across the state?
Certainly. Yes, certainly. We are glad with the deployment of our agents. Our situation room is open, and we've done the calls around our 5,000 or so agents, almost 5,000 agents this morning, to just check on the situation of it. So we're very ready for this election. Well, you can tell yourself. It will be strange if the people's will is not expressed, and I pray that is not the case. Whatever the people want, however they've expressed themselves, should be the outcome of this election. It's not predetermined by anybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, there you have it. The governor of Edo State, Governor Godwin Obaseki, speaking, at his polling unit this morning and detailing what he has observed so far with the electoral process. One of the things, of course, he picked on is the security situation in the state, the presence of police and the presence of the army. And if you remember, a couple of days ago, I spoke and shared my concerns, about the involvement of the police and the army in elections in Nigeria. It shows really that, we still have a lot of work to do. If we have to have, members of or soldiers of the Nigerian army present for something that should be as basic as elections. And of course, what change has this brought, with securing the electoral process in Nigeria? Not very much. But let's bring in Amadin Uyi, who's joining us in Edo State this morning. Good morning, Amadin. Thanks for, of course, the work that you've done so far. Can you hear us clearly? Amadin Uyi, can you hear us?
Good morning.
All right, good morning. Kindly confirm your location and then, let us know what the situation is like
yes, I can
on
hear
ground.
You loud and clear. Okay, I'm at Ero Uromi, somewhere in Esan Northeast local government area of Edo State. You can see behind me, the election is going on here smoothly, and we are on our way to Edo North, and we saw the crowd, so we decided to stop by to look. But before I just give you details, let me speak to just one of the agents here. Okay. Can you just come over? Let's just get your name.
My name is Stanley Ebosele. I'm agent to APC. So the election here is very peaceful. No fights, no cheating, no any bad thing. The election is peaceful. The election is very peaceful here.
Okay, from what you have seen on ground, first of all, when did the voting commence here today?
About to 9. There's something about after 8, something like that.
Okay, the conduct of the INEC officials, how will you just give us your perspective on the conduct of INEC officials?
They did the right thing. They are not on one side. What they asked them to do, they are doing it. So here is very peaceful.
Okay, now if the election goes on as you have observed since morning, will it be fair to say it's free and fair?
Yes, it's free and fair election.
Okay, we'll speak to another agent, this time the agent of the Labour Party who is also on ground. We just spoke to the agent of the All Progressives Congress. Okay, first of all, can you just tell us your name?
Good afternoon, my name is Saturday Iyoa.
Just help me look at the camera, Mr.
Saturday Iyoa. I represent the Labour Party. The election is very free and fair. And the ordinary people, they conduct the election as we like it. So there is no fight, nothing. We love ourselves. Thank you.
Okay. Saturday, how will you describe the conduct of security personnel on ground?
Very, 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 very fair. Very, very good. Very, very. I believe the government tried for the security. No violence, nothing.
Saturday, you are from the Labour Party. Will it be fair to say that at this polling unit, the election has been free and fair?
Fair. It's very, very good. Free and fair election, no violence.
Okay, that was Saturday, an agent of the Labour Party. So we spoke to two agents, one from the All Progressives Congress, another from the Labour Party, and they have said that is what we have seen on ground. So far in this ward, there are about 3 polling units. There has been no incidents recorded. People are voting. People are queuing up to vote.
It is a civic right and responsibility. Every person living with disability or who is handicapped should come out and exercise his or her voting right. So that's why I came out.
All right, so as you don't come out now, what do you expect in terms of security? Your mind rest.
By the special grace of God, the security that they are put in place. So I'm sure all unnecessary action will be caught.
My ballot paper, I went to the booth, I thumbprinted where you would imagine I would thumbprint, and then I stuck it in the ballot box. Everything went well. I want to hope that this is the experience of every Edo voter, but I'm not going to make it here. I'm going to wait for feedback from around the state. It's 192 wards, 4,500 polling units. We are hopeful that this will be the experience of every Edo voter, and that I am calling on INEC that the playing field should remain level, giving any undue advantage. All of our agents should be allowed into the collation center. The agents should be allowed into the collation centers. Nobody should be hindered or prevented from going into the collation center, so that we can all witness the process and be able to confirm that it was carried out in the manner as prescribed by law, the Electoral Act and the Constitution. So I am calling on INEC. This is an off-cycle election. The only gubernatorial election taking place in the entire country. So they have no excuse. They have the luxury of being able to deploy their resources to this state, all of their resources. They have the latitude of being able to ask the security forces to focus on Edo State. So I would imagine that anyone giving all of those tools and resources should be able to do a good job. So I'm hopeful, all eyes are on them. The entire country is on INEC, and we're hoping that they will do a good job.
All right, so before you go, in terms of security, what would you say? How tight has security been in Edo? We heard there was a shootout at Edo yesterday night, and some political talks were apprehended. How would you respond to that?
That they were apprehended is a good thing, right? So I'm thinking that with the massive deployment into the state for this process, first and foremost, that's a good sign for me. Now it is left to be seen whether or not that deployment is for the people or the deployment is to benefit certain individuals. I mentioned yesterday that I noticed that 2 APC trucks were parked outside the home of Senator Shomole. That does not give me confidence. 2 APC trucks, these are major equipment meant for the people. What are they doing outside the home of Senator Shomole on Okoroton Avenue in GRA? So that gives me cause for concern. But we are watching, and we are not without remedies.
All right, sir, there seems to be logistic problem with INEC because sending materials to polling units. All right,
allow me get feedback from the field. I cannot comment on that now. It is only what time is it? I need feedback from the field before I can tell you about my own perspectives on the issue of logistic challenges. But anyone who is operating in Edo State and who needs to go by road around Edo State will have challenges. Anyone who needs to travel from point A to B in Edo State will have challenges. So I'm not surprised to hear that. At least if we're talking about road transport.
Sorry, lastly, sir, do you think the main thing, whether we have affected voter turnout?
Rain affects a lot of things. People stay home when it's raining, but they will come out because the people want to vote, and we have time. So I'm sure that once the rain subsides, the crowd was huge here before now, and they're not going to go home. So let's do it that way. All right. Thank you.